not as a bastion of honor, but as a masquerade where nobles showered each other with public praise while secretly plotting each other's downfall. And here's the unsettling part. The more powerful you become, the more smiles you attract, and the more hidden daggers. This dynamic hasn't changed in the modern world. Loyalty often wears the disguise of friendship. But look closer, does this person stand with you because they believe in your essence, or because they derive safety, status, or support from your approval? If your influence evaporated tomorrow, would their phone still ring? This isn't meant to embitter you. It's meant to awaken you. Once you recognize loyalty as a strategy, not an inherent virtue, you cease to be manipulated by it. You stop mistaking convenience for true character. And you begin to observe people with radically different eyes. You stop asking, why did they abandon me, and instead, you ask, why was I useful to them? This is the bedrock of Machiavellian self-defense, detached from the illusion that people are loyal to you. They are loyal to their perception of you, their needs, their aspirations, their self-interest. And when that illusion no longer serves them, your bond will, inevitably, dissolve. The path forward, strategic detachment. So, what action do you take? You cease trading your loyalty for validation. You stop sacrificing yourself for those who view you merely as an asset. You build alliances, not fragile attachments. You lead with value, not desperate dependence. Machiavelli understood that a wise individual moves through life like a grandmaster on a chessboard, not emotionally reactive, but relentlessly strategic. He doesn't hate the opposing pieces, he simply comprehends their function. And so should you. This doesn't demand the abandonment of love, friendship, or community. It demands the removal of the blindfold, seeing people as they truly are, not as you desperately wish them to be. Because in a world teeming with manipulation, the rarest form of power isn't deception. It's clarity. Betrayal, human nature under pressure. Have you noticed how quickly allegiances shift in the crucible of crisis? A misspoken word, a misinterpreted post, a subtle dip in status, and suddenly, those who once lauded you are gone, silent, or, chillingly, arrayed against you. This isn't necessarily betrayal. This is human nature under pressure. Machiavelli famously advised rulers to maintain power not through love, but through calculated fear. Why? Because he knew fear is infinitely more predictable than affection. Fear, unlike fleeting adoration, often remains loyal even when love has withered and died. In stark terms, people are more reliable when they need something from you than when they like you. It's profoundly liberating. Once you internalize this, you stop bleeding for fair-weather companions. You stop exhaustively explaining yourself to those determined to misunderstand you. Most importantly, you stop being shocked when loyalty evaporates the instant you cease to be advantageous. You begin to move like a tactician, kind, but never naive, open, but never blind, generous, but never exploitable. This is the first law of Machiavellian power: don't depend on loyalty. Understand its inherent expiration date. No one is your friend, not in the idealized way you might hope. But once you accept this, truly, deeply accept it, you gain the most formidable advantage of all: independence from illusion. Kindness, a double-edged sword. We're raised to believe kindness is an intrinsic virtue, a universal good, that being gentle, accommodating, and agreeable will open every door and earn every ounce of respect. But Machiavelli knew better. He understood that kindness, when not wielded strategically, is frequently mistaken for weakness. He recognized that in the theater of power, niceness isn't admired, it's exploited. This isn't a call to cruelty. It's a stark warning: if your goodness isn't forged with strength, it becomes your leash. We've all witnessed this narrative unfold. The person who constantly bends backward to please others, always agreeable, perpetually saying yes. They believe they're embodying nobility, earning adoration. But beneath the surface, a different dynamic takes hold. People begin to perceive them as harmless, predictable, replaceable. They start to expect compliance. They relentlessly test boundaries. They scoff at silence. And the harder they try to please, the more invisible they become. Machiavelli would identify this as a fatal flaw, because it willingly surrenders your power to those who care least about your well-being. When you lead with niceness, hoping it will protect you, you become a tool. A stepping stone. A phantom people forget once they've extracted what they needed. But when you lead with presence, a quiet, unshakable sense of inner strength, you command attention. Respect. Even a healthy dose of fear. Machiavelli argued that it is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. Not because fear is inherently virtuous, but because fear establishes distance. It breeds respect. Love, on the other hand, often invites exploitation, especially in a world where most individuals think in terms of advantage, not abstract virtue. And here's the chilling truth: people frequently misinterpret kindness as naivety. They perceive softness as submission. And unless you master the delicate balance of empathy with authority, they will inevitably walk over you, and then resent you when you finally stand your ground. Escaping the niceness trap. So, how do you break free from this insidious trap? You must learn to master what Machiavelli termed appearance, to be kind when it serves your purpose, cold when it shields you, generous when it fortifies your position, and ruthless when your very survival demands it. This isn't about living a disingenuous life. It's about recognizing that in a world teeming with opportunists, absolute transparency is a dangerous liability. The person who bares their soul to everyone ends up betrayed. The person who exposes their entire strategy gets sabotaged. The person who pleads for approval never truly earns it. Niceness without strategy is a lamb wandering into a wolf's den. Why does kindness so often attract abuse? Because many individuals are constantly testing the boundaries of every person they encounter, consciously or subconsciously. They push. They prod. They press, relentlessly searching for where the line is drawn. And if you never draw that line, they conclude that no such boundary exists. They won't vocalize it, but internally, the thought forms: this person won't stop me. This person fears confrontation. I can take more. And they will. Not because they are inherently evil, but because people respond to what you tolerate. If you permit someone to interrupt you, they will continue. If you perpetually give more than you receive, they will come to expect it. If you never utter the word no, you are not seen as generous, you are seen as weak. Niceness becomes a self-imposed cage. Machiavelli's strategic kindness. So, what would Machiavelli advise? He would tell you to cherish your kindness, but to weaponize it. Let it be a strategy, not an automatic default. Offer your generosity only to those who genuinely speak softly, but understand when to deploy silence as a potent form of power. Assist others, but never, and most importantly, be unpredictable. Machiavelli believed unpredictability was one of the most powerful forms of protection. When people cannot anticipate your response, when they are uncertain whether your smile conceals steel, they tread carefully. They respect your personal space. But if your response is always passive, you become a script they've already memorized, a puppet whose strings. There's a dangerous myth that equates being feared with being evil, that strength and kindness are mutually exclusive. But that is, true power resides in embodying both, a person capable of profound kindness, yet unafraid to inspire